Residential status in respect of an individual. Okay, so what we are going to understand today is when an individual becomes a resident or a non-resident in India for tax purposes. Okay, this is governed by Section 6 of the Income Tax Act, Section 6, subsection 1 if I have to be precise. Now, in order to understand as to when a person will become a resident, there is a set of rules that has to be followed. Let me just show this to you. So the first thing that you need to see basically when you are considering whether or not an individual is resident is that there are some basic conditions. Actually, two of them. Okay? If you satisfy one or both, you are a resident. Right? If you satisfy none, you are a non-resident. Okay? A resident can be further a resident and ordinary resident, or a resident and not ordinary resident. Right? The tax status of all the three of them, namely the non-resident, a person who is a resident and ordinary resident, and a resident and not ordinary resident, differs, and they are taxable on different streams of income differently, which we will see subsequently. But once you are a resident, there is another set of conditions that needs to be seen to see whether you become a resident and ordinary resident or a resident and not ordinary resident. Let us go back to the PowerPoint slide and see what are these conditions. Now the basic condition basically says that he has been in India in previous year for a period of 182 days or more. Right? Now 182 days means it is included. So even if you are there for 182 days, you are a resident. Now the next question which comes up is, how do you compute days? Based on certain decisions which are given, day means 24 hours. Okay? Broken time added for hours. Right? So if you are there in India for a couple of days, then basically whatever the number of hours are there, that have to be added to see whether you complete the 24 hours or not. If you complete 24 hours, that is counted as one day. Exact time not known, both arrival and departure days taken. So if you don't know what is the time when you entered into the country, then the day when you dropped in and the day when you went out, both of them are included to compute whether or not you were in India for 182 days or more. Right? The second condition, he has been in India for 60 days or more during the previous year. Right? We all understand the concept of previous year, so I am not repeating that. So the person is in India for 60 days or more, right? And for 365 days or more during 4 years preceding the previous year. Let me show this to you again by way of an example. So let's say, for example, the previous year is financial year 2012-13, right? If you are in India for 182 days or greater than 182 days, you are a resident. If during financial year 2012 and 13, you are in India for 60 days or more, right? Plus, during the 4th financial year preceding financial year 12-13, which will be what? It will be 2011-12, 10-11, 9-10, and 8-9. You need to calculate how many number of days were you in India during each of these 4 years and do the sum of that. If that sum comes to 365 days or more, greater than or equal to 365 days, plus you are in India for 60 days or more during financial year 12-13, you are a resident in India. Okay? So an individual who satisfies either first or the second basic condition is construed as a resident if you do not satisfy any of these conditions, you are a non-resident, right? Then once you are a resident, as I told you, we need to see whether you are a resident and not ordinary resident, right? But that is what we are going to see in the subsequent slide. Let me just take you through the exceptions to this particular rule, that 60 plus 365 rule. An Indian citizen who lived during the previous year as a member of crew of an Indian ship. So please note, if you leave India during financial year 12-13, what we were discussing, as a crew of an Indian ship, okay, or for the purpose of employment outside India. In both these cases, instead of taking the 60-day, the rule will be, it has to be substituted by 182 days, right? So if you fall in either of these two categories, then instead of taking the 60 plus 365 criteria, you go to the 182-day criteria. And the other one is that an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who, being outside India, which means should have settled outside India, comes on a visit to India during the previous year. So basically, if you are a person of Indian origin or you are an Indian citizen and you were settled outside India, if you come to India, then the 60-day period is not relevant. It has to be construed as 182 days. The idea is that, if you are settled outside India, you're coming to India, just because you are here for 60 days should not mean that, you become a resident for tax purposes. If effectively whatever you are earning and all is outside India. At the cost of repetition, let me just kind of cover this again. There are two basic conditions. If you satisfy one or both of them, you are a resident. If you don't satisfy either of them, you are a non-resident, right? With that, I come to an end of this particular video. Okay. My name is Arinjay and I'm your tutor and educator for this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button at the bottom of this video. Okay. If you want to share this with your friends, you can do so by sharing it on Facebook or some other means and help us educate as many students as we can. Thank you for your time and look forward to you in many more future lectures.